Hello, everyone. My name's Lucy. Yeah, you were probably terrified by the title of my story. Just don't rush to conclusions and try to understand me, okay? I guess you want to tell me how stupid I am, right? Well, my wedding, which was supposed to be the best day of my life, was almost ruined by some freaks. For some reason, they thought that they had the right to interfere in my life. And yes, I love my husband. Yes, I'm aware he's 72. I'm not blind and stupid, but this is my life and I'm the one to live it, okay? But before we move on with the story, subscribe to the channel. Click the bell button to never miss new stories. Thanks. Well, I'm an orphan. I never knew my parents. I've lived in an orphanage my whole life. For some reason, they thought they didn't need me, so the state authorities ruled I needed to stay in the orphanage. I don't know the way they distribute kids. They probably do it randomly. Anyway, I was unlucky twice in this life. First, I was in a place where it was pretty cute and fun. I even remember that time. In fact, it was the only place where I felt good. Then, maybe for a contrast, they sent me straight to hell. My orphanage was the one they usually write about in a criminal chronicle, like when the management does nothing for kids. They didn't feed us. Well, they did, but no one could call it food. Even dogs refused to eat it. The clothes were disgusting. No entertainment at all. The main rule was just don't mess with the adults. That's it. Well, we could do anything we wanted as long as no one saw it. Like, you're not a thief until you're caught. Got it? And it's quite logical that a lot of the guys escaped from there as soon as they had an opportunity to do it. Even living under a bridge like a hobo was a much better option. We all knew how to rob people and take away their food with a stick or a knife. Well, it wasn't about us. It was about the way we lived. First time I escaped was at 13. I was wandering around the streets. I breathed the air of freedom. But I made a mistake when I decided to spend the night in the city park. The police quickly found me there and returned me. My second attempt was a little more successful. I spent 2 weeks on the street, but the police found me again. On my 15th birthday, I ran away again, and that's how I accidentally met him. I've heard from other older guys that you can find a lot of interesting and useful things in other people's houses. And just in front of me was a suitable house. It looked quite decent. Most importantly, the door was open. Who was so stupid to not lock the door? Anyway, I didn't care. I was hungry. I climbed inside, sneezed because the house was dusty. Then I grabbed some food from the fridge. Then I started searching the cabinets and closets. There was nothing useful there except some figurines and old dishes. So I headed to the living room, and I stopped there. There were a hell of a lot of books. It looked like a big library. The books were everywhere, on the shelves, in the cabinets, on the mantelpiece, on the table. Even the windowsills were filled with books. I've never seen so many books in my entire life. Anyway, this is how the owner of this house found me when he returned home. I was lying on the carpet by the fireplace and clinging onto the first book I came across. Oh yeah, I really loved reading. I was waiting for anything. I mean, the older guys from my orphanage told me a lot of horror stories about calling the police, beatings, and so on. But a cute, neat, older owner of the house wasn't even surprised. He asked me how I liked the book. Then he just offered me a cup of tea. He didn't kick me out even a week later. On the contrary, he gave me a bedroom, found some clothes for me, left from his children. He even offered for me to stay with him as long as I wanted. He probably regretted it later. Or maybe he was just lonely. Who knows? It was a really great time. Mr. Tom, his name, and I somehow got along well. We quickly shared our responsibilities around the house. I washed the dishes and dusted. We lived heart to heart. We even had a daily routine. In the morning, he went to work. Yes, despite his age, Mr. Tom worked as a librarian at a city school. I stayed home. Well, I can't say I was a good housewife. After all, no one taught me such things in the orphanage. But I always dusted, cooked simple food, and warmed it up in the microwave. Over time, Mr. Tom taught me how to cook different dishes like pasta and crumbled potato salad. We had lunch together, walked exactly for half an hour. Then we went home to play chess, read books, talk about everything in the world, or just watch movies. Mr. Tom liked to only watch documentaries. Still, it was very interesting. Anyway, we lived a quiet and cool life. Mr. Tom even studied according to the school program. I learned math, English, and some other subjects like chemistry. He said I was doing very well and my brain is working nicely. I could even try to get a city school certificate and then go to college. But I knew our peaceful life wouldn't last forever. I was right. A month later, they remembered about me in the orphanage. Somehow, they found out I lived at Mr. Tom's place. One day, 2 police officers knocked at our door and I had to go back. Seems like Mr. Tom didn't think about this option when he thought about my fabulous future. I was wrong about one thing. It seemed to me, as soon as they took me away, my old man would immediately forget about me. No, Mr. Tom started visiting me on the weekends. He always came on Parents' Day. Ironically, there were a few kids in our orphanage who had at least some relatives. He brought me books, food, some cute little gifts like sweets, but I had to give half of it to the older guys. Still, I was quite happy with what was left for me. After about 6 months of our relationship, he asked me if I wanted to live with him. Seriously? No, I didn't want to. I dreamed of it. In fact, I would be satisfied with any option that meant not staying in the orphanage. But then my pink glasses were shattered, and I had to accept a harsh reality. It turned out taking a kid from an orphanage was not an easy game, and nobody was going to give me to Mr. Tom. You know why? Simple. He was too old, and he wasn't married. In any case, it was written in these stupid rules that a lonely old man couldn't be a guardian, even a temporary one. He was incapable of adopting anyone. The only loophole was marriage. I found it myself in some very old law books. According to the law of our state, one can get married even at 16, and this law hasn't been changed. And just recently, I turned 16. At first, Mr. Tom totally refused this idea, but a month later, a very unpleasant episode happened to me at the orphanage. 3 older guys attacked me and stole my food. After that, Mr. Tom agreed to a marriage, and that's how I became a young 16-year-old wife to a sweet, lonely old man. As you can see, there was nothing terrible in our plan, just a pure marriage of convenience. All I wanted was to escape from that terrible orphanage, and I was ready for anything to do it. Seems like this is it. That's the end of my suffering. We're together. From the outside, we would look like a grandfather and granddaughter. Everything is fine. Hello, my happy ending. But some morons believe that it's better for kids to live in hunger and fear in a shabby old orphanage. So, our wedding was almost ruined by some stupid activists. They were from kinda Parental Rights Association or something. If only they knew how terrible my life at the orphanage had been, but they didn't care. However, when they saw that a 16-year-old girl is marrying an old man, they were terrified and thought it was wrong. People are so stupid. Well, Mr. Tom and I were signing papers in the civil registration office. Outside, there were some guys with banners standing. People all over the town came here to watch the show. Even the police had to go there to prevent public disorder. Everyone was trying to figure out what was going on. Rumors started. People couldn't decide which of us was a victim, me or Mr. Tom. Even now, a year after the scandalous wedding, some people still say we are terrible people and don't deserve the right to live. But you know what? We're fine. I mean it. Now I'm finishing high school and getting ready for college. Mr. Tom says I have an excellent chance of getting a scholarship, so we won't need to take out a student loan. By the way, my old man is quite fine with the situation. Now he has someone to look after him and talk to. I'm really grateful to him for what he's done for me. He fought to the bitter end for me to have a good future. I hope he lives until he's 100. He says he dreams of babysitting my kids and even my grandchildren. My message to everyone: don't rush to condemn any person. Try to understand. After all, we're all people and we may have a difficult situation. Text your opinion about the story in the comments. Don't forget to like. Has anyone ever condemned you? How was it? Feel free to share it in the comments. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.